Hi, I'm Mel, or you can call me Melon Soda, or just Melon, or really whatever floats your boat. If your homepage looks anything like mine, you've probably seen the myriad of my first videos popping up everywhere. And I too dreamt of joining the sea of videos as someone who grew up watching Storytime animators. But alas, drawing is not my forte, so making a channel dedicated to it just didn't seem in the cards for me. But then I remembered while my drawing skills may be lacking, I did have something else I was pretty passionate about: decorating. Although it might not seem like it looking at the state of my room right now, but I just recently got back into Animal Crossing, and with the news of the 3.0 update on the horizon, I thought now was the best time to put my decorating skills to use. So I booted up my Nintendo Switch and came up with an idea. What if I combine my love of animators and my decorating by creating an Animal Crossing island full of animators? A few things to note: Animal Crossing only allows up to 8 human villagers and 10 animal villagers on one island. So I had to narrow down the animators I featured to only 8. Maybe I'll create another island with the same concept down the line with different animators, but I felt like for my first attempt, 8 was just enough, especially because this will be my first time designing an island with more than just me and my 10 animal villagers. For me, I tried to stick to animators that not only was I familiar with, but had a theme that I thought would be easily translatable to Animal Crossing. So while I'm sure an island filled with stick figures would be amazing and totally interesting, that's not what I was going for. And when I mean animators, I broadly mean both storytime animators and those who mainly do animations minus the storytime aspect. I did choose these animators almost in pairs, so it wouldn't seem so convoluted and chaotic having 8 animators with completely different styles. So let's get on to our chosen 8. Starting off with Sodakin, which persona is a cat with long black hair. They have done one-off animations, but the majority of them are paired with their music, which if you haven't given it a listen yet, you definitely should. They have a pretty small discography, so it wouldn't take you an incredibly long time to get through it all. You know, Hansel and Gretel, Misery Meat, People Eater, so many great songs. And I think if you're a fan of Jack Stauber or Lemon Demon, you'll probably enjoy Sodakin too. On to our next villager of choice, Vune. I've been a longtime fan of Vune. I'm just so captivated by her animations again and again. I can never get tired of them. I paired her with Sodakin as they both tend to tackle more dark topics and have styles that give off almost like sensory overload, if that makes sense. The fact that our videos feature different animals, I thought it would be fun picking out different animal villagers to pair alongside her as well. She has this video called Floatland that definitely resonated with me, especially how I felt about Animal Crossing in like 2020 and 2021 when I was really into it, especially when I wanted nothing more than an escape from the real world. So it felt very fitting to have her on my island. Then we have Ringo, who you also might have seen pop up on your homepage. I think she mixes humor incredibly well with her animations. I first saw her Japan video about Omori, and I was like, why does that sound so familiar? Because fun fact, I lived in Japan for 2 years, and I've been to places like Miyajima, Okinawa, Urayasu, and of course Tokyo, but I don't think I've ever visited Amori. But then I remembered I'd been to Misawa, which is like in Amori Prefecture, which is probably why it sounded so familiar. So cool connection there. But I really relate to Ringo as someone who's also chronically online. And if someone had to voice my life story, I hope it would be Ringo. And she was the one to actually inspire this video because, duh, apples. Next, we have Minbit, who also feels like someone who came out of thin air one day. I still remember how much traction their first video got. It was you just had to be there. I even found some old screenshots I took, so it's just crazy to see how far they've come. I absolutely adore their animations and just how expressive it is with like usually little to no dialogue. And just how they draw their family, like their parents, like as these all powerful beings. It's really cool. I put Ringo and Minbit together because they both signify chaotic gremlins to me. This next pair are besties who, like me, are multi-stands, Narami and Cole. I feel like if you watch either of their content, it's hard not to know about the other. They both have very distinct styles, using black and white and utilizing tones and shades to make their art come to life. I like how a lot of their content is very uplifting and feels very grounded, which I know sounds like a bit of an oxymoron saying those two things together, but I hope you get the vibe I was going for. They've been doing some IRL vlogs in Berlin, which has just been so nice to see. And I feel like everybody needs besties like Cole and Narami. This final pair are comfort creators of mine. First, we have Emirichu, who feels like a kindred soul to me, as someone who grew up and still to this day is heavily invested in shoujo anime. Also, just liking everything cute, having a hobby of journaling, and trying to collect every stationery known to man. I think the only thing we don't share in common is clumsiness, but besides that, I deeply resonate with Emily. Now, originally when I was drafting up the pairs, the most obvious choice for Imarichu would be Titus, her boyfriend and a fellow Storytime animator. I had watched Titus's videos before they got together, but honestly, I didn't really get into watching him more until they made their shared channel Spilled Ink, where they do traditional art together, coming up with different challenges, inviting special guests, and getting to work with professionals in different fields. But then I thought, since they're living together, wouldn't it make more sense for them to share the same house? And I could instead make it so their house reflected both of them. Once I decided on that, I was like, maybe I could pair her up with Honobread, another Storytime animator I adore who also has a boyfriend in the same field, TJ Toons. And I could do the same thing, creating a home that represents both of them. And I know I was saying I would pair similar creators together, but I think I wanted more of a contrast than just pink on pink. Not that I couldn't have gone that route. Maybe if I had paired them with Narami and Cole, I could have had a black pink moment. But then I was reminded of a creator who reminds me of a warm bowl of soup on a rainy day. Char. Here comes the boy. Hello, boy. Welcome. I don't know, something about her is so nostalgic and refreshing, like a cool spring breeze. Sorry for all the metaphors, but that's how I feel. Like Vyun, she features different animals like ducks and frogs, which felt pretty fitting with Animal Crossing. She's just so wholesome and the kind of person I imagine people would say give like the best hugs. And that concludes my list. I hope you either got hit with a wave of nostalgia or discovered some new creators to check out. I feel like that was a pretty long winded introduction into each, but I kind of wanted to give my reasoning on each. And apologies in advance if I didn't include a favorite of yours, but please feel free to share them down below so I can consider them for the next time I decide to take on an endeavor like this one. So I created a profile and me character for each of the animators. I absolutely love character customization and spent an absorbent amount of time trying to get their likeness to come across in their me character. Like for Vyun, I wanted to include yellow eyes and create that almost uncanny vibe her drawings give off, where a lot of her characters feels like they're hanging on by a single thread before they just snap. And I think the ones I'm most proud of are Narami and Imarichu. I think if you didn't see their names that you could have probably guessed who they are from a glance. Ringo was probably the toughest one for me because I first tried to go for her more human character design, but didn't like how it turned out, so I went for her apple design instead. And can I just say, I thought using the pigtail as a replacement for her leaf would be a cute idea. Just saying. I tried giving them all different poses. My favorite is probably Minbit, as it just gives off the vibe of someone who's going to be a menace. And if you've seen some of her shorts, I think you get what I mean. Now I will get to the actual gameplay. Because I needed a main player or an island representative or a main account, whatever you want to call it, I decided to crown that title to Char. I won't bore you with all the logistics, but I will say by the end of this, I think I should be the one running Tom Nook's workshop, the amount of times I've gone through it. But I'll try giving you the Cliff Notes version. Heavy on try. As my mom would say, it's making, a long story long instead of a long story short. First off, island layout. If you've never played or need a refresher, you can pretty much change everything about an island's layout except its resident service slash the plaza, the location and color of the airport, where the rivers open into the ocean, the rocks, and the secret beach. For our purposes, all I care about is the location of the plaza and the fruit I get. All the rest is negotiable. I think a lot of people, including myself, want the plaza as far away as humanly possible. Personally, I think it looks kind of tacky when I enter my island and the first thing you see is this boring, bland building smack dab in the middle of it. It reminds me of all those fast food restaurants that have been just drained of all their whimsy. So, again, the farther the better. For fruit, I was honestly looking for either cherries or peaches. Why not apples? I hear you scream through the screen. Well, I actually have a second Nintendo Switch, courtesy of my big brother, and I have an island I started like 2 weeks ago, and it has apples on it, so I can easily bring some over to this island. And while you can get fruit other than your native one, it's a lot harder if you don't have Nintendo Online or have like another island to mooch off of. So it's just less of a headache if I just get the fruit I want in the beginning. And the last thing I really care about, but is like on the lowest tier on my priority list, is where the rivers face. My only real preference is for the river mouths to be facing different directions, but this can be easily overlooked if the plaza is far away enough for my liking. After a gajillion resets, I finally got an island I'm happy with. Okay, oh, so for each character's birthday, I originally planned to just set them to December 31st, December 30th, December 29th. Very boring, but it would save me a few seconds. But then I thought, what if I made their birthday the day they posted their first ever video? So that's what I did for all of the villagers except for Shar, because I didn't think of this idea until after I created her character, and there was no way I was planning to reset a gazillion times again just to find my ideal island. So her birthday in this game is December 31st as far as I'm concerned. So this is my island. I got cherries as my fruit, so that only solidified to me that this was my island. When it came to naming, I came up with the name Spumoni, which is an Italian dessert that contains cherries. I actually found out about it while looking up Neapolitan ice cream. So after I got Shar settled, I actually had myself from my other island come over and bring over some stuff so I wouldn't have to struggle so much. The main thing I wanted was the vaulting pole so that I could access the rest of my island when setting down the other tents, because it's usually recommended to put as many buildings on the beach so when you get to terraforming, you don't have to move them twice. I also gave myself a mirror as it opens up more options for hairstyles. And I know the villagers don't look like their animator counterpart, but that will come with time. I'm just making do with what I have. So my initial plan was to try to get everyone's tent on one side of the island, minus Shar and the two animal villagers, since I didn't have access to the vaulting pole at that time. Let me just tell you, there would be places where you would think a tent could fit, but Animal Crossing would be like, nope, try again. So in case anyone thinks, oh, you could have put a tent there. No, you couldn't. Trust me, I trust me when I say I tried. I I moved every inch, every way. Ooh, I tried so hard. I was like, please, why can't I put a 10 here? Please, please. So when I tell you I tried, I tried, okay? So that kind of sums up day one of this adventure. I thought a nice way to end this would be gifting all my villagers with a melon soda. And I thought it'd be fun to kind of find different ways to incorporate that into each of their own homes. And that concludes my first Animal Crossing video. I hope you stay to watch the next installment of Spumoni Island and leave any suggestions you have down below. Happy New Year's, everyone. I hope you have an amazing 2026 and enjoy my beloved Marshall singing to send you off. Bye bye.